Alright people, so welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series on current affairs. Now in this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs within 30 minutes. So make this lecture series a part of your daily routine. It won't take much of your time, but you'll be fairly regular with your current affairs. And I need not explain the importance of current affairs to you, okay? Current affairs forms the most dominant chunk of your UPSC examination. Therefore, you need to develop a regular habit of covering them, okay? Now, in today's current affairs lecture series, we will cover current affairs from 17th of August. So all the important news items that featured in that day's newspapers shall be covered today. Okay, so pay close attention. Just pay close attention for these next 30 minutes, right? So let's begin. So daily current affairs, 17th of August 2026, and here are the topics that we are going to cover. Okay, topic number one is pretty interesting because this is on the rise. What is agentic AI? So we'll talk about this and the pitfalls associated with this. Then topic number two is India's sweet revolution. Sweet revolution is associated with honey production. India is very well placed, but there are certain problems. There was this editorial in the Indian Express newspaper with respect to this. So that is why we are covering it. Then we'll talk about Odisha's coastal erosion. It is causing a lot of problems in Odisha. Okay. And then we'll talk about fast DS scheme to disclose foreign income. Basically, this is a scheme for all the income taxpayers who have acquired foreign assets, but they have not declared those foreign assets in their income tax returns, right? So there is an amnesty scheme for them, okay? You can declare it now and pay the tax. You won't be penalized. So these are the four news items that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one. Starting with topic number one, and that is, what is agentic AI? Now, I'm sure you are familiar with these LLMs, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and whatnot, right? Now, there is a new AI product in the market called Agentic AI or AI agents, which has revolutionized. And there are fears also that it is going to replace almost all the white collar workforce. Now, what is the difference between LLMs, these ChatGPTs, and AI agents? A single line difference between them is that LLMs are passive. Okay, you write a prompt and they give you answers. Answers can be in the form of text, images, videos, and whatnot. But agentic AI basically does job on your behalf, does the work on your behalf. So I'll give you an example. Let's suppose you want to write an email to your boss. Okay, so you'll ask ChatGPT to frame an email. Then that email font would be given to you. You'll copy it, paste it in your Gmail, and then send it. Now, what if there is a AI that will do all of this on your behalf? You just have to give it a command that write an email, send it to my boss, and if he asks any question, reply to it also on my behalf. You don't have to do the copy pasting, that AI agent will do so. Suppose you give it a command that book flight tickets and find the cheapest flight ticket for me. He'll do that, it will do that, and your flight tickets will be booked, you will be sent a copy. Now, this is something that would erase a lot of jobs, right? These are AI agents. So LLMs basically are passive, but AI agents are active, okay? Active in terms of the work they do. But the thing is, AI agents are on the rise and companies are replacing their workforce with these AI agents. But there are various pitfalls, problems associated with this. So first of all, in this news item, we'll cover what are AI agents and what are the issues associated with them very quickly. Okay, so let's begin. So what is agentic AI? Okay, now here's the difference between passive LLMs and autonomous AI agents. So examples are ChatGPT, Claude, early versions. Now Claude also has various AI agents, or they can build one for you. Okay, autonomous agents, operator, Devin, computer use agents. So passive, these LLMs are reactive, answer queries, generate text. They are active, formulates subtasks and executes actions. Bounded, confined to the chat interface, your browser. They are integrated. These are integrated with your computers, your apps, because after all, how would it book a flight? It would have to be integrated with the Make My Trip or any of these apps. Okay, so this is there. And low direct risk. It requires human to copy the text and act. It doesn't require all of that. Therefore, there is high risk also because you don't know what your AI agent is doing behind your back. You'll get to know about it once the consequences appear in front of you. So it is risky also. Clear? Now, to know more about AI agents, you need to know about their core components. Okay, what are the core components? First of all, as soon as you give them a task, you see, LLMs are given a question, but AI agents are given a task. Okay, as soon as you give them a complicated task, what they do is they break it down into simpler tasks and adjust the chronology and do those subtasks one by one. Now, perception and planning. Their major job is planning of that task, because as soon as you give them a task, their first job is to plan it out, break them into subtasks and plan it out. So decomposes a complex high-level prompt like book the cheapest flight and reserve a hotel within budget into sequential dependent subtasks. And then they have to plan the chronology and then they have to execute it. It's complicated, but they are doing it. Then they need to be integrated with your computer, your web browser, your different apps that you are using. Because if they are not integrated, how would they open your Google and book a flight for you? So they have to be integrated. Now, these AI softwares, to integrate them with different apps on your phone, you need APIs, application programming interface. So this is a very tricky thing. Navigates web browsers, fills forms, logs on to third-party apps accounts, triggers payment gateways. Then memory and reflection. They also improve themselves. So first, for example, they went to make my trip. They found no good flights, or they booked a expensive flight. Okay, and then when they finalize the budget, they realize that the reason why the budget is spilling over is because the flight ticket is expensive. So they will go back and re-execute that task. You understand? They learn from their mistakes. Therefore, these AI agents also have a memory cache. So this is there. So these are the core components, and these are pretty advanced core components, right? Now, here's the thing. What are the risks in the deployment of agentic AI? All of this sounds really great, but what are the risks? First of all, loss of human agency. Delegation of financial and personal decisions. What if the AI agent commits an error? This is really a problem. Okay, so erosion of user consent. Human beings would be eroded. I mean, human beings' activity on the internet would be reduced to zero. There is this theory going around, dead internet theory. Okay, all of, maybe this is the future also, dead internet theory, which says that the future internet would be operated by robots only. So this is a risk. Then security vulnerabilities. What if someone hacks your agentic AI, gives its own commands, and basically, since your agentic AI is connected to your bank account, everything, so they can do a lot of damage. Then what if there is a lawyer which is using agentic AI, and that agentic AI framed a contract for a business? That contract was full of errors. Now, who would you pursue? Okay, and let's suppose because of that contract, there was this huge financial damage. The thing is, who will be held legally responsible for this? Because AI is autonomous. Would you put AI behind the bars, or would you hold the lawyer responsible for it? This is a huge legal issue which needs to be solved. Okay, so these are the three problems. Now, over here in this table, well, there are different dimensions of agentic AI. Okay, the problems associated with this in the second column, and the solutions that can be done, because we shouldn't ignore agentic AI. It is here to stay. So we need to adapt it, because we can't ignore it, that agentic AI is full of problems, therefore ignore it completely. We can't do that. So we have to adapt to it. So when it comes to financial transactions, the biggest threat is manipulated payments, compromised agents. Compromise means hacked. For that, you need to make it mandatory. Human in the loop. There will be an OTP that would be generated on your phone. You have to fill that OTP. Your agent cannot do it. You have to do this. Then data privacy. Because these AI agents would be connected to a lot of apps, they would extract a lot of data. And that data would be with these AI agent companies. Okay. So you need, and there is an issue with data privacy also. So make sure that all AI agents are compliant with Indian law, Digital Data Protection Act. Then legal liability. Who would you hold responsible, your agent or you? Okay, and let's suppose a company is using that agentic AI. Now, who will be held responsible? That AI, or the CEO of that company, the managing director of that company, the employees of that company? Who will be held responsible? This is a big issue. Okay, and operational safety. Clear? So this is very simple. Now, what is the way forward for India? If India is going to use AI agents, it is going to integrate them with India's digital public infrastructure like UPI, ONDC, DigiLocker. We have to make sure that these AI agents, they'll be connected to these DPIs. Now, remember, I told you that agentic AI, for connection with different apps, they need APIs, application programming interface. We need to design these APIs properly so that they are hack proof. Nobody can hack them. So this is the thing. Then all these commercial agents, so these commercial companies who would be using agentic AI, well, government should make it mandatory that these AI agents should be programmed to prioritize consumer safety, consumer rights also, because that agent would be programmed to prioritize commercial interests. But no, government law would make it mandatory that AI agents should prioritize consumer interests also. And we need to develop a proper national cybersecurity strategy. We do have a national cybersecurity strategy, but that was developed pre-AI. So with the dawn of AI, we need to update this. Okay, so this is the thing. This is the way forward. That's about it, right? Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is India's sweet revolution. Basically, there was this article in the Indian Express newspaper talking about India's honey production, honey export market, the advantages that India has and the disadvantages, the problems that still persist. Okay. Now, honey production is termed as sweet revolution. For example, milk production was termed as white revolution, right? There were different color coded revolutions. So honey production is associated with sweet revolution. If India really wants to become a global leader when it comes to honey, we have to take care of a lot of factors. Okay, lot of economic factors and lot of environmental factors, because honey is produced by bees. Bees require an ecological habitat for honey production. If you're not going to preserve the environment, well, honey production would definitely dwindle down. So, what should we do to make India a global leader when it comes to honey production? Let's talk about this. India's sweet revolution. Okay, so India's sweet revolution has achieved substantial scale over the past decade. India has emerged as the second largest producer of honey after China, of course, and third largest exporter by value, again after China and New Zealand. So production wise, we are second. Export wise, we are third. Okay, New Zealand is a big, a big leader, global leader, but we have the potential to become largest producer and largest exporter. But we are suffering from 4 systemic challenges. What are those 4 systemic issues? First of all, high export market concentration. What does this mean? You see, we export a lot of honey, but we only export it to 1 or 2 countries. Okay, and we are highly vulnerable to that. In fact, 76% of our honey exports go to USA. What if tomorrow USA decides to stop that? Well, we'll suffer a lot, right? We can't be wholly dependent on USA. Therefore, we need to diversify. Already we are diversifying to EU, Israel, but we need to do more. So this is one problem. Then number 2, suboptimal unit value realization. The thing is that Indian honey producers produce raw honey. Okay, they do not process it. They produce raw honey, they export raw honey. Then the importers of India's raw honey, they process it and sell it at very high prices. Okay, therefore, the thing is that India should develop the capabilities of processing raw honey so that we produce proper processed honey and earn a lot of profit margins. Because raw honey's price is very low, but once you process it, add fragrances, and then sell it with different GI tags like Kashmiri honey, then the value rises, skyrockets. So our honey producers would earn a lot of money. This is there. Then there are a lot of byproducts during honey production. There is bee wax that is produced, okay, that is used in cosmetics. Then there is propolis, which is used in nutraceuticals, these supplements, okay. Then there is some royal wax or royal something that is again used in various, there is high demand for this. So these are the byproducts. We are not focusing monetization of these byproducts. We only focus on honey, we sell it, we throw this away. This is wrong because these are also saleable in the market. Our farmers or our bee producers can earn a lot of money through these byproducts also. We are not capitalizing on this. And then fourth is, what we do not realize is that the biggest contributing factor in honey production is, well, are these bee colonies. They have a lot of, the output is dependent on the performance of bees. These are unpaid laborers in honey production, the bees. And there are various challenges that bees are suffering from. Okay, challenges which are environmental, ecological. But most of our producers are focused only on economical aspects, not the environmental aspects, without realizing that without the environment, well, honey production cannot rise. Okay, so this is the fourth important thing. We have to do a lot of things in this regard. And there is another fifth thing, which is adulteration. Okay, honey adulteration. And we don't have a good name when it comes to selling pure. Plus, there is another problem. The reason why our honey producers are dependent on exports is because there is less domestic consumption of honey. So we need to generate awareness so that people consume more honey. Okay, so these are some of the domestic issues. Now, what is the current status of honey production in India? Well, we have doubled in the last decade our production. India is second largest producer. Where is honey produced the most in India? Well, UP, Rajasthan, and the horticultural zones like Himachal Pradesh and Kashmir. Our export value is pretty high. Okay, 8.4% of global honey exports come from India. So that is why we are third largest. And 70% of total domestic production is exported, which means 30% of honey produced in India is consumed in India. We have a very low honey consumption in India. We need to increase it if we really want honey producers to gain a lot of money. Okay. Now, remember I told you the biggest challenge is environmental. Okay. So what are these environmental challenges? What is the contribution? What is the unpaid contribution of bees? The Food Agricultural Organization says, according to UN Food Agricultural Organization, insect pollinators support nearly 1/3 of global agricultural output, enhancing yield across 87 of the world's 115 leading food crop species. So the thing is that if you are going to protect bees, you're not only going to increase honey production, you're also going to increase production in horticulture, oilseed, nutritional security. Because the thing is, bees are pollinating agents. What do you mean by that? When they suck nectar from a flower, the seeds of that flower get attached to those bees. Then the bees travel somewhere else and drop those seeds over there. Bees are those agents through which plants reproduce. Without them, plant reproduction would be, not possible. That is why we see, because of their pollinating role, they are important for horticulture, fruits and vegetables, important for oilseed production, important for micronutrient synthesis and pulses and on and vegetable farming. So if you are going to improve these environmental factors, not only honey production would increase, horticulture, oilseed, nutritional security would increase. Now, what environmental challenges are being faced by these bee colonies? Here it is. Use of a lot of chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, they impact bee colonies. It leads to colony collapse disorder. Okay, this is there. Then most of our farmers, okay, agroforestry is there, but we practice monoculture. Only one type of trees are grown. What happens? This leads to decline in forest diversity, which the bees require for, better performance. This is there. And bees also suffer from pest and pathogens, fungal infections, bacterial infections. That is also because of climate change. So this is there. Right? Now, currently the schemes that are being run by Government of India, they are given in this tabular form in your notes, so do check it out. Like National Beekeeping and Honey Mission, Madhukranti Portal, Export Promotion Support. So do check this out. And what is the way forward? Well, we need a mission more targeted approach that double the size of bee colonies by 2030, pollinator-friendly farming, basically promoting organic farming, less use of chemical fertilizers, okay? Certification of honey in India that is produced, give more GI tags so that you can increase your profit margins. Diversification. What diversification? Sell beeswax, propolis, and other things. Domestic awareness campaigns so that more Indians consume honey. And paid pollination service ecosystems. Well, incentivize farmers to have more bee colonies. Even if they don't produce honey, still give them money. Have some paid system so that they protect bee colonies. Okay, do this. Make sense? Right? All right then. Now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Odisha coastal erosion. Well, Odisha coast is suffering from heavy coastal erosion. Okay, the coastline is getting eroded, right? And this is causing a lot of problems. Many villages are being uprooted. Seawater is getting, or seawater is invading the farmlands that were deep behind the coastlines, which is destroying their farming opportunities. And the coastline is also an important buffer from these cyclones. All of this is getting eroded. Now we need to be aware of the factors responsible for this increased accelerated coastal erosion, and how can we save Odisha from this, because Odisha's economy is dependent on their coastline, right? Some major important cities of Odisha are close to the coastline, so it is important for Odisha, right? So let's investigate this matter. So yeah, Odisha coastal erosion. So according to long-term shoreline monitoring conducted by National Center for Coastal Research, approximately 28.3 of Odisha's 564-kilometer coastline is undergoing active erosion. Now, here's the thing. Look at Odisha on this map. As you can see, some major cities, Puri, Konark, Chandipur, okay, these are on the coastline. Now, let's have a bureau of Odisha's shoreline dynamics, okay, its coastal situation. So, Odisha's coastline is being constructed, or let's say that most of Odisha's coastline is being renewed every year by the sediment brought by the sea waves, right? Sea currents. So that part of Odisha's coastline is known as accreting coastline, which means sediment deposition is happening. Okay, sediment is also being deposited from the rivers and their deltas. So 54.1% is saved. But 28.3, which has increased, is eroding. And 17% of their coastline is stable, right? So this is the current situation. Now, this number, this 28.3 number was really low 10 years ago, but this has increased dramatically. What are the reasons behind this? So let's talk about the reasons, the core drivers. So we can divide these core reasons behind Odisha's coastline erosion between natural factors and human caused factors, anthropogenic. So let's talk about natural factors. So first of all, Odisha is prone to a lot of cyclone activity. When these cyclones make a landfall, they destroy the coastline. So this is one reason. Then, because of global warming, sea levels are rising, and well, they are encroaching upon the land on these beaches. So sea level rise and longshore current shift. The Bay of Bengal ocean currents that were responsible for a lot of sediment deposition on Odisha's coastline. Sometimes these shore currents, these ocean currents shift. Okay, this is natural. Now, human causes are a lot more important for us. Number one, hard coastal armor distortions. We create these barriers so that high wave activity, cyclone activity do not impact the nearby cities. Now, these hard barriers made of cement, they don't allow coastal deposition. Sometimes there is an important port. Okay, you need to protect the port from cyclone activity. So you create a big cement barrier. Now that prevents sediment deposition. So this is there. Then you have constructed so many dams on those rivers which deposit a lot of sediment on the deltas formed on Odisha's coastline. When you construct dams in the upstream region, well, dams prevent carrying of these sediments to the delta regions. This is a problem. Plus mangrove degradation. A lot of mangrove forests, which were responsible for sediment accretion, they have been destroyed, and illegal sand mining activities that are going on. Now, because of coastal erosion, Odisha is suffering. How? Coastal impact. First of all, human displacement, submergence of villages, emergence of climate refugees. Then saline ingress. seawater is intruding your farmlands because the land is getting, I mean, the seawater is climbing up because no coastline is there to protect. So ingress of saline water into groundwater destroys coastal paddy and drinking water wells and biodiversity threats. Well, you know about olive ridley turtles. They have a mass nesting site on Odisha's coast that gets destroyed. So it is a threat to biodiversity as well, right? Now, what are the solutions that are proposed? So one solution is geotextile tubes. So there are these huge tubes, okay, which are made up of specific textile material called geotextile. You fill these tubes with sand, okay. These sand tubes act as barriers in case there is a cyclone, but they also prevent any or they also encourage sand deposition. You understand? The artificial cement barriers, well, they protected you from cyclones, but they also disallowed or they also prevented sand deposition. Geotextile tubes don't do that. Okay, they promote sand deposition, but they protect you from any high sea waves. Then artificial sand bypassing system. This can be used on ports. Okay, you read about it. It's very interesting. And bioshields. Well, replant mangrove forests. These are absolutely essential. Okay, mangrove forest would not only protect Odisha's coastline, it would improve sand accretion. It would also protect you from future cyclones because with climate change, cyclone frequency is on the rise. So this is something we can do. So these are two artificial things. Okay, artificial engineering solutions. This is a natural solution. Make sense? All right. And now let's come to the last topic of the day, that is fast DS scheme to disclose foreign income. So there are many NRIs, many Indians who have foreign assets which they fail to disclose on their income tax returns. If the government finds out, there is penalty, even jail term. Okay, they can be prosecuted. There is criminal prosecution. So people are already scared. Okay, but the government came out with an amnesty scheme. They said that, okay, what's in the past is in the past. If you fail to declare it in your previous income tax returns, but if you declare these assets now, we will collect a one-time tax from you, and that would be all. And you won't be prosecuted in Black Money Act or any law. Okay, this scheme is called Fast DS scheme. So let's quickly talk about it. Okay, it's fairly technical, so we won't get into the technical aspects. We'll just talk about its pros and cons and some aspects of this. Okay, so let's quickly finish this. So Fast DS scheme to disclose foreign income. So what was in the news? Central Board of Direct Taxes notified foreign assets of small taxpayers disclosure scheme. Operational from 16th August to December 31st. This one-time voluntary compliance window was introduced via Finance Act, this budget. In exchange for voluntary disclosure and prescribed tax fee payment, declarants, this is important, receive immunity from penalty and prosecution under Black Money. So you won't be prosecuted under this law. You will be protected, right? Now there are two components to this. Okay, two types of people would be protected. Category 1, if you have an undisclosed foreign income or assets up to 1 crore, then you have to pay a 30% tax on it now. Okay, and plus 30% penalty. So in effect 60%, and you'll be saved. You can do this. Then there is this another category of people. Look, category 1 people were those who created these foreign assets with undisclosed income. Okay, but if you created these foreign assets from disclosed income, you declared in your income tax returns that you have earned 1 crore rupees in this year, but you did not disclose that you use that 1 crore rupee to buy some property abroad. That's about it. That's your only crime. So that money is not black money, right? You will be put in category 2. If you're in category 2, even if your foreign assets are up to 5 crore, you will be protected. You just did not declare those assets. Otherwise, everything was white, not black. For you, the penalty would be 1 lakh rupees only, irrespective of your assets, whether they are 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crore. Okay, because these are mostly honest people. So there is this proper categorization. Now, in your notes, we have also given a table. Okay, difference between Black Money Act and Fast DS scheme. So it's fairly simple. I mean, the penalties, jail term, all these things are compared. How this Fast DS scheme is a better option that the government has given to people who have foreign assets. So do take a look at this table. And there is some way forward also, okay, which is very simple to understand. So do have a look at this also. Clear? It is given in your notes. All information is given in your notes, right? And that would be all. So with that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. Now, it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series. And number 2, you do not forget to revise this lecture from the notes provided by us. That is really important. So in the hope that you're precisely going to do that, I shall take your leave with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.